Hi everybody, I'm Carrie Baucom. I'm a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade special education teacher from the northwest suburbs of Illinois, and this is episode 3, I Can Hardly Contain Myself. Welcome back for episode 3. This is the second in a 3-part series on ideas for using sketchnoting's elements or learning how to sketchnote as a whole, but mostly my focus on this 3-part series is learning about sketchnoting's elements and then ideas for how you can use them in your classroom to enhance your students' learning and then also improve your teaching. Today we're talking everything organizers, and I am so excited. I'd say I can hardly contain myself, but I already said that. So let's get started. In episode 2, we talked about what listening skills are for our students, how traditional learners, more traditional approach to learning, students learn to take notes. So this is a lot of information, right? And then as they improve on their note-taking skills or as they get more instruction from us, our hope is that they'll be able to take a lot of information and then transfer it into just a few sentences or summarize these facts. And then the ultimate goal for our learners as sketchnoters is for them to take a few facts and be able to highlight a few key words, or what I call be micro-summarizers. And so now what happens next is now we need somewhere for this information to go. It can't just hang out in our heads, right? So we need to talk about how our students are going to take their information and how they're going to organize it. Organizers do 3 things for our students, and I want you to really hook on to these things. So like I talked to you about sketchnoting and what the process is to hear information, to take it in, to micro-summarize it, and now we're going to put it out on the paper. We're going to transfer it, we're going to process it and put it onto the paper. And so that's what sketchnoting does. Now let's think about what organizers do. And organizers do 3 basic things for our students. They help plan the organizers help plan information. They help categorize the information. And they help anchor the information. There are a lot of elements in sketchnoting, you guys, and I talked about it in episode 2, and you can go look and see between the 8 and 6 different ways that of elements that sketchnoters define as parts of sketchnoting. But I really wanted to keep these episodes condensed and really jam-packed full, and I also wanted to organize sketchnoting for you guys. So we talked about what listening was, we're talking about what organizing is, and so when it comes to organizing sketchnotes, there's 3 different elements: containers, color, and space. All right, you guys, let's stop there for a second, okay? So I don't think I mentioned it in episode 2, but I want to come to it now. And if I talked about it already, I'm talking about it again. So it's important, right? So sketchnoting as a whole is an amazing tool. It's great for us as learners, it's great for us as educators to make the learning that we're teaching visual, and it's great for our students. It enhances comprehension and recall and retention. It's amazing what it does with the brain and learning, how it connects it all. But I think sometimes what is missed in that big picture of sketchnoting are all these little players within sketchnoting, these elements. And if we tap into what these elements can do, what their strengths are, and we start to connect it with what we know as educators about students and how they think and how they learn, we can start to see that we don't always need the big sketch note in our classroom to use sketchnoting to enhance our students' learning. And so what I'm going to focus on today in this episode and in the next episode, and what I really want you to tap into is, maybe you're watching this episode because you want to learn how to sketchnote, and that's wonderful, and I hope you get that. But what I really want you to tap into is what each of these elements can do, and think about how you could take just one element back to your classroom tomorrow and use that to enhance your teaching or teach to your students and show them how they can enhance their learning by using just a single element. So don't always think of sketchnote as this big monster that has to be used in the classroom. It's wonderful. I'm not saying it's not, and we'll get to that late in more episodes. But what I really want you guys to do is tap into those elements and really see what they can do for students. All right, now that you fully understand the level of passion that I have for the elements of sketchnoting and what they can do for learners, let's get back to these organizers and let's talk about containers, colors, and space and how we can use them to enhance the learning of our students and bring out the best in our teaching. Containers. Containers are shapes that can hold words. So let's think about that definition, and then now let's apply it to how we can use that to help our students enhance their learning or how we can help it improve our teaching. So first we have just physical containers, and if you guys don't know it already, I love Post-it notes and note cards. They're physical containers. They're pieces, they're containers that students can hold in their hands, right? They write their notes on here, and these boxes and a rectangle organize the information for our students. And then I always like to have students have like a favorite group. And as sketchnoters, we're all going to develop a element or favorite containers. And so this, for me, they're usually just basic containers. So you can have students identify which containers they like best. And it's good for them to keep thinking about, like, what do they like to use? And sometimes students might use the same container all the time throughout the same sketch note, and that's great. Or they might mix and match. So having your favorite containers, they're easier to draw the more we use them, and then we know that they hold information. In my classroom, I love to use what I call a container library. And what that means is that I'm attaching meaning to each container. So every time a student sees a thought bubble, they know they need to think something. If they see a talk bubble, they know someone said something, or maybe they need to say something. If they see the boom bubble, it's like a remember, don't forget. And then the little flashes here might mean important. And then if they see a box, it might mean a fact or some information. So by pre-identifying what these specific containers mean, we're also anchoring the information to something visual that they're going to see. So if I see a thought bubble, I know that's what somebody thought, or maybe that's what I thought. When I see a talk bubble, that means I need to either say this or this is what somebody said. And when I see a square, it's a fact. So you're using the visual you're using the container to hold information, but you're using the visual because it's used so repetitively to hold the same type of information. You're anchoring that information into that container and helping improve our students' memory. So now I said containers are shapes that hold words. So we can take this even further and think of containers as images themselves. So let's say I'm talking about writing. So maybe my container is now a pencil. And then everything in this pencil is about writing. Or for our littles, let's say you're talking about an apple. Maybe everything in that is about an apple. Or maybe you have a whole sketch note full of shaped containers that hold the information about the thing and then make up this sketch note. So containers are shapes that hold words. So think about that. Let that sit for a bit and think about how anchoring information into specific containers can help enhance your students' learning and then also help improve your teaching of information for your students. All right, colors as organizers. This is the oldest organizer for us as educators. We've been using colors for forever. And they use them in sketch notes all the time for a variety of different ways. So colors organize information. They add dimension, but we're not going to be using them for that. But they organize information, but colors also anchor information for our learners. So when we think about what colors can do, and then we think about our learners, there's a variety of different ways we can use those to enhance our students' learning. So students can use colors to categorize like information. So maybe in our classroom, blue always means something. In reading, maybe it means your who or your what or your where. Yellow always means something. That's where the information for the plot or the setting is. And green always means something. So by having these pre-identified colors, it gives the students a place to put the information, but then also when they look at it, it anchors that information to a color. Similar to that, besides categorizing information, you can use that just like we talked about with the container library. You could have a color library, like maybe in math, yellow is always the example. And blue is always the steps. And orange is always our practice, or maybe orange is the assignment on the paper. When they see orange, they know, I need to do that assignment. And colors don't have to always be fancy. Sometimes just coloring in some parts of your sketch note at the end of taking that time to do it can be a really calming activity for students. It's a way to add extra emphasis. Even though they're coloring, they have to look at the content and they still have to focus on it. So it's also kind of a mini review. And then ultimately, we can always use colors for what we've always used them for in education, and that's to highlight important information. So maybe they do a standard black and white sketch note, and then they go through and they highlight 5 facts that they need to remember for the test or for the assignment. So those are some ways you can use colors to help organize sketch notes, or how you can use colors in your classroom to help enhance learning. Our final organizer is space, and that is the place that holds all of the containers, all of the ideas, all the information. It's how we plan out our ideas. And there's a variety of different ways that we can plan out and structure our sketch notes. And they generally depend on 2 things. First of all, how we organize our space depends on what kind of learner we are and how visually we best process information. The second way we organize information might just depend on how we like to organize information in this space and how we like to plan. So traditionally, most of us are used to seeing planning with the topic in the center and then facts going around in a radial way, right? And for most learners, that works. Some learners might prefer to take their sketch notes or to see sketch notes in a more linear way, up and down. And then still some students might prefer to just take sketch notes however they want to take sketch notes. My friend Dana calls this the hot mess express. And so when teachers talk to me about how do you teach students how to plan, I kind of go back and forth on this. Part of me says, don't teach them how to plan. Let them plan how they want to plan. Let them plan what works for their brain. But then I also know that there are some students that just need a little bit more guidance. So I have 2 ideas for you when it comes to space and how we can help facilitate our students' organization of our ideas. The first one is go back to the colors. If you have students who have trouble organizing ideas and thoughts, color code some of those sections of the sketch note for them to put specific information on. Or even consider this. Consider tagging colors onto specific containers like we did before, like a circle has one circle has green, one circle has blue, one circle has red, and then let the students pick where they're going to put those circles on the sketch note. So you're allowing them to have choice and freedom in their creativity, but then you're also allowing them to anchor information and have an organizational tool. Another idea I have is let them do their sketch note the way they want to do their sketch note. And then if you're really finding that there's no organizational component to it, or they're not able to group ideas in a similarly in a space, have them cut up the sketch note and have them on the table, really moving things around and moving pieces around, and see if that helps them see how things and ideas can combine. When it comes to space, I really like to show students the process and let them come to their own way of doing things versus telling them that this is how it has to be. So consider space as a planning area. This is where Post-it notes and note cards also become really great in space because they can be moved around and shifted without having to wreck things. But give different tools a try, use different things, use containers and color coding with spacing and planning, and see how that works best for your students in their learning. But like containers and like color coding and the space, the possibilities are really endless when it comes to connecting that tool with our students and their learning needs. All right, you guys, that is it for today. Organizers are a really amazing tool with lots of different elements that can do a lot of different things for students in the classroom. I'm super excited to hear from you guys if you have any more questions that I haven't answered about organizers. I'm also excited to hear that if you have different ideas or different things that you've done in your classroom to use Sketchnoting's elements to enhance learning. And then if you decide to take one of my ideas and try it in the classroom, I would love to hear how it goes. Did it work? Did it fail? Did you tweak it or twist it in a different way that I didn't think of? I'd love to hear back from you. You can leave a comment down below or you can connect with me on Twitter. I'm at HeckAwesome, HeckAwesome. I love seeing what other people are doing in their classrooms, how they're using drawing and the process of sketchnoting to enhance learning. I'd love to see what your kids are doing, or if you decide to take a risk and pick up a pencil and try it yourself, I would love to see what you do. Mostly it makes me happy to see people draw and take risks, but I love to steal ideas, you guys, because when we take something that has no rules and connect it with who we are as people, amazing things happen. So I hope you will join me back for episode 4, but 3 in the series. We'll be talking about icons, and I'm super excited about that one. But until then, if you could outline that subscribe button below or color in that thumbs up. Keep the questions coming on Twitter and on in the comments. I love hearing from all of you. My list of ideas for future episodes keeps growing and growing, and with each piece of feedback, with each question that I get from each of you, it takes this new adventure that I'm on that's absolutely terrifying for me, and it makes it feel more safe and more rewarding than ever. So until next time, you guys, remember when we're sketchnoting, there are no rules.